And we are live. So, welcome to episode 199 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for joining us. Yes. Quite the regular. And always good to talk some film and some horror and some sci-fi or whatever it is we are talking about.
Shoot shit.
And that's right. And we've got John K. Alvarez, aka All by Myself. He will be alone. So that's, he's trying. Please, I prefer it that way. Leave me the fuck alone.
All by myself.
That's exactly right.
And the singing like that is why he's all by himself.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Well, I'm a poor son of a bitch.
Yeah, there's gonna be a brick through the window.
I've seen too much supper and I've lost 70 pounds. So think about it.
You're gonna hear dogs fucking howling 2 towns over with that singing. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he sings better than me too.
This is the first. We are officially in October, and this is the first of 4 Halloween films that we will be covering through this month, one a week, leading up to the big spooky holiday. And the first time we did it, I had something called Halloween Hellfire, and I collaborated with you guys, and everybody, I think, picked a film. I think that's how we did it, So we got I don't remember what we got, but we just got a bunch of.
The only one I remember, me and John were with you for Scary Stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that was where Rod picked Silver Bullet. We wanted to pick We wanted to pick films that have a sort of spooky mood, rather than just a bloodbath or some zombie flick or something like that. So we got films like that. I think we had Mike Nichols' Wolf, and a couple of other things.
That's
right. Last year, I don't remember what we did. But this year, I wanted to pick a specific theme, and I decided on witchcraft because vampires are done to death. And I don't think that there are 4 good werewolf films out there. If they are, we probably covered most of them already.
We pretty much have, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got to Howl, and we've got to You Won't Be You Won't Be Alone. We got to what was one? Ginger Snaps.
Yeah.
And maybe 1 or 2 others. I think I did the Howling back when I was doing something.
Well, you and I did the Jack Nicholson's Wolf.
That's right. Yeah, we just said that a second ago. So we did Wolf. I got some of that Sometimers, as you.
And the train where everybody turned into werewolves.
That was Howl.
That was Howl.
Yeah. And I haven't wanted to get into American Werewolf in London because I just feel there's nothing new to be extracted out of that. I feel it's a played out movie. And maybe one of these days we will get to Dog Soldiers, but for what I tried to do on this show, sometimes it feels on the nose, and then sometimes it feels like, well, you're just being an asshole. You could just pick the fucking movie, but then I don't. And as long as we have other things to discuss, I'm okay with that. But this theme is witchcraft, and I selected first something that I had only seen recently, and I saw the trailer, and I was just like, "What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?" And like as it says in the movie, what isn't strange when you think about it? And I was waiting for it. It didn't drop out here in little old regional South Jersey, and I waited for physical release, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and then I heard it was coming to Prime or video on demand, but it never had a physical media release. But that's what we have eBay for, who somehow always manages to find a video release of Goran Stolevski's "You Won't Be Alone." So if you guys are ready to go, that will be the first of 4 this month. Shall we get started?
Onward and upward.
Boogie woogie. take the time to think about it, there are quite a few good witchcraft movies out there. You know, I mean, you could go all the way back to The Wizard of Oz, which for me was one of the scariest fucking movies I had ever seen at that age.
She's still one of my favorite movie villains.
Yeah, when I see those fucking legs sticking out from under the house, I was like, what the fuck you know, and then flying monkeys and shit like that, it scared the shit out of me.
When they're tearing apart the scarecrow, it is still terrifying.
Yeah, and there's that scene where she's like hiding behind the tree as they're singing, you know, down the yellow brick road, you know, and you're just like, what the, this is like a werewolf movie. I'm like, you know.
Good shit.
The grains of sand going through that hourglass still.
And that you know, that laugh, and you know, you're just like, what the fuck is this? And then you could go to something like you know, something fun like Hocus Pocus, and there's no harm. Hocus, you know, it's a fun movie. You watch it with your family, show it to your kids, you know, have a couple of laughs, and there's a little bit of, you know, humorous horror to go with. Or you could go with something that's a little more on the nose, like in the 90s, that old movie The Craft. You know, which is always the teen trope, you know, teen sex trope, you know, hot girls experimenting with witchcraft.
Exactly.
You could go all the way to, you know, right to the wall with a Hereditary in terms of like straight up, you know, psychological horror, because in the end, that movie is about a satanic witch's coven. We're going to be covering other types of, we're going to be covering Suspiria. We're going to be covering Eggers the Witch. You could, not Eggers the Witch, Suspiria and Rosemary's Baby.
Right.
You know, great witchcraft movies. And again, you know, like I just said, Eggers the Witch, which is quite profound, actually. It's quite a good movie. But none of them were like this. I've never seen a movie like this before. And it is a horror movie. It's like the things that there's malice and there's cruelty and there's just this inhumanity that's just, you know, engraved, you know, and then enforced. And it's like, if you won't believe it, I'm going to make it happen. So you believe it, you know, like you don't get to be happy. This kind of thing, you know, fuck you, you know, you don't get to, you don't get to smile. You don't get to enjoy. You don't get to do anything because I didn't, you know, and it's just full of spite, and jealousy, and fuck, man, you know, this the way that it's done, again, like last week, very sparse dialogue. Very little dialogue. It's all done through narration, except when there is something to say, it usually comes from Maria, old maid Maria, and you're paying attention.
Yes, absolutely.
It comes through like it is folk horror, clear Macedonian folk horror.
Absolutely.
And so these things are just accepted. Witchcraft and witches roaming the countryside are simply accepted as part and parcel of life in that part of the world at that time.
Correct.
So there's no denying and then coming to realize that, you know, it's a witch. From the first 3 minutes, it's a fucking witch. She's in your living room. She wants to take your fucking baby.
Yep.
You know, and there's no negotiating. There's no nothing. It's just, this is what's going to happen. Let's go around a little bit. Eric, what did you think of the movie without giving away too much? Did you like it? Did you love it? Do you want to divorce yourself from ever appearing on the channel again? What the fuck's up with You Won't Be Alone?
You said it is technically a horror movie and stuff like that, and it's definitely, horror is short for horrific. Some of the images I watched, because again, I went in blind. All I knew is there's a witch in it. You know what I mean? I knew it was a foreign film. What's her name? Nomi Rapace? Is that how you pronounce her name? She's in it, and again, you know, witches. And this is kind of a weird comparison. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it. I liked how it was filmed, and you know, we're going to get into that. I knew I was in for some sick shit. Now that I'm thinking of it, the beginning of this movie kind of reminded me of the beginning of Stake Land. All bets are off. With the use of a child. And if something like that is done to a child in the beginning of a film, I know, like I said, put on the seatbelt. We're going for a bumpy ride, whatever the cliche is. And that roller coaster got bumpier and bumpier, and yeah, I was uncomfortable in some scenes.
Yeah,
but it wasn't just for the sake of being gratuitous. It had a point. Right. So overall, we'll get into it more, but I really enjoyed it.
Okay. John, what do you got?
It was amazing. It was amazing to me because in the beginning, I swear to God, I thought I was like, oh, this is going to be about as much fun as watching paint dry. I don't know why. That was my initial beginning. And I stopped the movie because I was watching it a few days ago. And since it was on Peacock, I got it.
Right.
And I rewound it and said, get in a better mood,
Okay, sure.
And when I started watching it, is it a horrific movie? Yes. Is it a horror movie? Yes. Is it folklore? Yes. But one of the things that got me the most, it was also educational. I felt it was a learning process for the main character.
Yeah.
Because since, and I don't want to give too much away, but the experiences she went through, I don't want to say it's a hero's journey, but technically it is. Right. She learned.
She learns what it is to be human.
Right.
And so you, as an audience member, for me, I'm taken through this entire experience to see the good, the bad, the ugly, all the warts of what it is to be human. In living it in everyday life over a span of years. This story takes place over decades, and possibly even centuries if you get back into Maria's backstory.
Right.
What we have here is basically the story of a young woman who is transformed almost from the time she's a little baby into a witch. It's kind of, that's almost too difficult for me to articulate how to summarize this film. It's difficult for me to articulate it, but it starts out with these children singing this song that there's no use crying over spilt milk, and that's just such a repetitive theme throughout the movie for quite a few people in there. And so it starts out with this woman who is just shooing these kids out of her house. And this takes place maybe around 17th century or 18th century, something along those lines. Eastern Europe on the border with Turkey, because they're so you're in that Romania, Transylvania, Macedonia kind of borderline, with that Vlad Tepes war with the Turks.
Yeah, they mentioned the Turks.
Still going on. And this woman turns around in her house and there's a fucking witch just sitting right there, hovering over her newborn baby. And she's burnt and disfigured. And what really got it for me was not that they went over the top with it. It's very Maria. I thought Maria was the woman who played Maria was fucking great. It's a very understated performance. It's very calm. There's no snarling or
That's what made it scary, because it wasn't, for lack of a better term, when the mother turned around and saw Maria, it wasn't, jump out, ooh, booga booga stuff. You know what I mean? She was literally sitting there, quiet, pun intended, quiet as a corpse. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And then when she started talking, it was this low key, whispery, menacing, but not, hammy performance. This isn't fucking Freddy Krueger, you know what I mean? He's not the boogeyman. This is just a witch. And the makeup, holy shit, that makeup was amazing. And what I loved about the Maria character when she's all burnt up, I guess you would say, is we still see the expressiveness of her eyes. We see disgust, we see rage. At the end, we see sadness and jealousy.
Right.
This actress who plays Maria, especially in witch form, is fantastic.
Go ahead, John.
No, it was funny because that's the first thing I wasn't expecting it, but it wasn't until the middle of the movie before I realized it. She didn't cackle.
No.
There was no stereotypical interpretation of what a witch was.
Exactly. That's what I loved.
I really think that, to me, that's why, like I said, when I rewound it and said, get into the right frame of mind, that pulled me in. Because there was, and don't get me wrong, there's been movies with witches that cackle. I mean, we were talking about The Wizard of Oz, you know, at one point in time, and she cackles throughout that whole movie. She does, you know, Maria doesn't. She's just, and she doesn't scream or hiss or everything is just measured.
Yeah.
Weird. It's almost like a mother. As weird as it sounds, there's that maternal or elder woman of the tribe concept that she has. I know more than you do.
And everything she says is very short. It's very to a point. You know what I mean?
And has weight.
Yes.
And has a weight to it. That's what gets me a lot about it. It was like she's more accurate than some of the heroes in this movie.
Oh yeah, because she has centuries of experience.
Exactly.
She's been alive for forever. And I described her in my notes as a malevolent parent. She's there to hurt you. Like, she's not there to, if she shows up, it's somebody's going to be hurt. Because that's what she does.
Right.
She just hurt. She's hurt, so she hurts other people in turn. And you know, there's no satisfying that. Like, you could tell, you know, that's never going to end. And this woman just drops to her knees and, you know, starts pleading. And, you know, she cuts herself, you know, take my blood, take me, you know, I'll get other children for you. Please don't. It's a newborn baby, you know, and Maria is almost amused at all this, you know, blubbering and, you know, this sort of thing. And she's just like, you know, let me keep her until she's 16, you know, anything, you know, just give me, you know, give me anything, you know, and then you can take her, you know, but just, you know, let me watch her grow up. And the next thing you know, she's sticking those long black nails down the baby's throat, and you hear that rip of the vocal cords, and you're just like, fuck, man.
That got me. That got me. I'm like, okay.
And we're talking the first 5 minutes of the movie.
I love the talon fingernails. You know what I mean? It's not over the top. It's not Freddy Krueger length. You know what I mean? But it's still, you know, it sets the tone. And that's what I meant by, you know, the first 5 minutes. If this is going to happen to a baby, because it's not overly graphic, but we do see like a movement of the hand. We do see a little bit of blood on the baby, and then we hear a little bit of gurgling. So it's the sound.
You hear the ripping sound, something being cut, like flesh being cut, and then the baby just shuts off, like, because they can't speak anymore in mid-cry, and you're just like, fuck, man, did that just happen?
That's the thing. You know, the baby was hurt and couldn't cry.
Yeah,
but you still hear the blood gurgling in its throat.
It's a fucking mess. So, I mean, I guess Maria makes a deal with the parent, who does her best, you know, pointlessly, to protect this child, taking her into some sort of, you know, cave. And what you realize is that she, like, Maleka is her name. The girl, the main character's name is Maleka. It's Maleka and Maria. Maleka spends 16 years living in a cave, never speaking to anyone, never interacting with anyone, never seeing anything. Like, everything comes through this light that comes from a hole on top of the cave. She doesn't understand anything. And I think that
I was picturing where, like, Claudia is thrown in, like, an Interview with the Vampire, that little, you know, that little circular, like, tower or something, you know, when the light comes in and fries Claudia at the end of Interview with the Vampire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I think in a without meaning to, that's what has sort of preserved her, because she just she ends up leaving the cave because at 16, Maria shows up again and murders her mother in the cave. And then assumes her mother's form, because there's this disgusting thing that they do where, you know, they can rip a hole inside themselves and fill themselves with the intestines
Of that person.
Yeah, of that person, and then assume the form of that person seemingly for an unlimited period of time. And so you see the mother go behind that one boulder in the cave to fight her, and it's over in like a second.
And it was the same thing that happened in the scene before. She was screaming and everything, and all of a sudden you hear like a complete. And again, back to that silence. And what was her name again? Malika. She even responded to the fact that there was silence all of a sudden, and was that terrified acting without speaking a word,
right?
Just letting it take over her.
Yes, because there is no. We should say, we're 10, 15 minutes into the movie now. There's barely any dialogue here.
No,
it's all. This entire story is presented visually, and just like last week, it's done with acting.
Yeah, because if you think about it, this actress, she can't speak, so she's being directed what to do, because when she does air quotes speak, it's the thoughts in her head, and it's ADR. You know what I mean? Right. So this actress is not really acting with any type of like vocal speech or anything like that. No. So she has to use her body language and the way she reacts and stuff like that. She does a fantastic job.
And I love when she's moving, especially in the cave and in the beginning part of the film. It's almost like dancing.
Yeah.
Whirling in this. It reminded me back when I would teach theater history of the Commedia dell'arte, the Harlequin character that they would have in these type of Italian plays that were done. Yeah, well, that's where Harley Quinn got her name for in the Batman movie. But the whole point about it was that they were always silent, never said a word, mischievous, curious, and would move like they were dancing. And I loved that. I mean, yes, they were also used for comic relief and things like that. But that whole concept of her, it still gave her an infant feel to her, even when she was 15. Because she wasn't talking.
She isn't talking, and she doesn't interact with anyone. So she is, for all intents and purposes, an infant. She's like a 16-year-old infant.
Yeah.
And I think all those years living in the cave are what kind of has saved her. I don't think her mother realized it at the time, but that kind of kicks off the story, because when she steps out into the cave with Maria, who kind of drags her out of the cave, looking exactly like her mother, she's just overwhelmed. Like it's like sensory overload.
When she first sees the sunlight.
Or trees or grass or like none of these things. She's lived in a cave for 16 years. Hold on a second. We got some comments here. We got Verb here. What's happening, man? He say tuned in and listening.
Very, very cool.
Oh, he says his exes say the same about him. I'm sorry to hear that, but all right. He says, I hate when they use kids in horror movies, but if it's CGI, that's wild and dope. This is not that. This is disturbing.
Yeah.
And it's not graphic. It's all implied, mostly. Yeah. It's mostly implied, but it's still
disturbing.
Tough to watch. Yeah, it's tough to watch. Yeah, it's this movie is on Peacock, man. So if you have Peacock, you won't be alone. Go out there and catch it. Definitely for Halloween. Words get in the way sometimes. Yeah, so I mean, everything is done through. There are no verbal cues for anybody to, to cue off. It's this overlay of narration with physical acting.
You don't talk about it; you experience it.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Terrence Malick films.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Off the top of my head, you'd have to tell me what Terrence Malick.
Have you seen The Thin Red Line, the World War II movie? Came out right at the same time as Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. When it first hit VHS, but I haven't since.
Well, they have, how they have, just like this, they have those scenes of people not speaking, but just kind of reacting to things. And then there's the overlay of narration here. It reminded me a lot of that. He says he's going to check it out. Good. Okay. So it's on Peacock. Go check it out. And
after you're done watching us.
If you want to drop out, because we're going to get into some spoilers here. We understand.
Yep.
She's cruel. You finally see Maria's interactions with Malika, and it's just slap here, slap there, calling her stupid. And Malika wants to like play with the rabbit. She snatches the rabbit out of her hands and breaks his fucking neck.
That was rough. She was literally hugging it like a child would hug, something. And without any type of second thought, she comes on, she basically says, "What the fuck are you doing?" Grabs it and snaps its neck.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that's an ongoing theme with Maria. Every time she shows up, it's always a "what the fuck did you just do? You screwed up again" type of thing. You know what I mean? And one thing we didn't mention is we understand what the mom did, keeping her in, secluded in that cave. But what the filmmaker did is such a good job showing how it was still taking so much away from her, like just even self-care. There's a scene where she's just laying there and she literally pulls a tooth out of her mouth. You know what I mean? Because no one's there to really take care of her. She is slowly deteriorating, being hidden away for safety. You know what I mean? So the safety, she's safe from Maria, but it's still kind of slowly killing her in a physical and like in a mental way. That's how I took it.
I was even taking it like she was safe in a prison. That's what it was. She was, you're behind the four walls. Yeah, I'm completely safe, but are you?
You can't leave.
Yeah,
right.
You can't leave. There's that scene where Malika's catching the fireflies, but Maria's just killing them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a perfect contrast between who they are. And I think, Maria was under the mistaken impression that this child was going to be exactly like she was. And she doesn't know how to respond. Like there's that scene where she just puts her head in her lap. You can tell Maria's like completely freaked out. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know how to be nurturing because she's just cruelty. She's just mean and cruel.
If you think about it, they are like complete polar opposites. Malika, she's looking at all the beautiful wonder in the world.
Yeah.
And if you would have asked Maria about the world, she would say the world is shit.
Yeah.
Nothing's beautiful.
Yeah, nothing.
Well,
nothing. It isn't that aspects of it isn't that aspect. Sorry, John. It isn't that aspects of the world are beautiful. It's that the entire or that aspects of the world are cruel and shit. Because that's another recurring statement that happens through the movie, that the world is, burning and it's a breaking. And yet, but for Maria, everything is just hell.
Well, for Malika, the world is new.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it. And for Maria, it's not.
Right.
I mean, I was thinking earlier when I was saying Maria was given tough love, but there's no love in it.
Right.
It's just tough because the world beat me down. It's going to beat you down. I'm going to be the one to throw the first punch. And Malika, for lack of a better term, gets up off the mat all the time.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Do you think it's not really the correct choice of words, but do you think it's tough love, or she's just trying to toughen her up? Maria is trying to toughen Malika up?
I don't think she knows how to. It's like, I want a dog, but this is how I'm training it. Type deal.
Okay.
And I mean, and I hate to use that analogy, but it's Maria doesn't know. She wants the child. She has to, have the child, but she wants it for a legacy, not as a daughter or someone to educate. That deal.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's just I had it written down in here somewhere where they were talking about it. I'll come back to it later. But I mean, one of the other things that grabbed me about here was the cinematography.
Yes.
The imagery, where you would just catch, even if it was just watching a stream go by, or how green everything was, or the forests, or her laying down in the grass, or being covered with leaves. Because it operates through a visual medium, it's very beautiful to watch. Lamb sort of worked that way, in that we said that the character, nature of the mountains were, part of the character. But this is a different kind of backdrop, where it's just
right.
so much beautiful, beautiful countryside.
There was a great scene in that part in the beginning when it was Malika and Maria. Malika's in the lake and she catches the fish, and then throws it back in the lake, and smiles. And Maria just looks at him like, "You idiot."
Yeah.
I mean, and again, other people would put in miles of monologues. Wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Wasn't needed at all.
Yeah, she tells her we need blood.
Yeah.
We don't need playthings.
Yeah, quit fucking around. We got work to do.
Yeah,
exactly.
We need. I mean, when you think of that specific word, you know, the thing that you need. It isn't. She didn't say food.
Right.
Yeah.
She didn't say drink.
Right.
You know, she said blood.
Yeah.
You know, which opens up a whole other door.
Right.
You know, that's a very specific word.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, what does it take to get blood? You know, it takes, you know, yes, it's something extremely rough. You know, and kind of an indifferent kind of cruelty, which is exactly what Maria is.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, she's just this kind.
We need blood, and someone's going to bleed.
Yeah. You have to get it from someone. You can get water from a lake without hurting anybody. Someone's going to get hurt if you have to take blood from someone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know? It's very specific. It's a very beautiful script.
Yeah.
You know, it's just everything is there for a reason. And because I think even the dialogue in the narration is very sparse. And so the specific interactions between characters, even more so. Every word is there for a reason. You know, so you pay attention to every single thing. And so eventually they end up, Malika ends up showing a little backbone. And splitting off from Maria, and then we start to get into the second act of the story, which is we start to run into Noomi Rapace, and it's a really brutal fucking scene where Noomi Rapace is just giving birth into this field, and the men are just working, you know, they're not like, you know, maybe 10 yards from her, you know, and she's screaming her head off, giving birth. She has the baby, and if I'm not mistaken, she goes right back to fucking work.
Yeah, someone tells her to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the men tell her, okay, basically, you know, back to work.
Yeah.
Right. Because you have the I don't know what were they called back then? Not nursemaid, but the you had someone grab the baby and walk off into midwife. Thank you. Yeah. Take the baby, and you saw them walk off screen, and then Noomi Rapace is right there. You know, she literally just had the fucking kid, and it's okay. Go milk the cows or whatever she was told to do.
Work to do.
Yep. But that's how it was back then.
I know.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And there was a sense of coldness about it. As a,
no one gave a fuck that she had a baby. There was no celebration. Right. There was no cause to be happy or anything like that. So, I mean, what starts to happen through the story is that, you know, Malika starts to, on her own, experience or observe human beings in action with each other.
Right.
And so, you know, she's sort of looking at the baby while the baby's in the barn. They leave the baby completely untended, you know, in the middle of a fucking barn, so she could go out, the mom could go out and work. She can't spend any time with her baby. And so, you know, she's in the barn looking at the baby, and Noomi Rapace comes in, and she thinks that she's going to harm the baby, and she accidentally kills Noomi Rapace.
Right.
I got that was kind of accidental.
Yeah, I thought Noomi was defending her child because, you know, who the fuck is this strange woman by my baby? And I think she leapt at her, and I think the talons is what kind of impaled her.
Yeah, because she's got a nasty claw that comes up about halfway through the palm of her hand, and these nasty black nails that just look like nails, like black fucking like railroad spikes or something. Nasty things. Exactly. They look like coffin nails, and you know, they're effective weapons. She ends up killing more than a few people with those things. And what happens is she assumes Noomi Rapace's identity.
Right.
She rips that hole out of her and stuffs Noomi Rapace's innards inside of her and becomes Noomi Rapace.
And I'll say this: I thought that was really creative because we know she has to stuff, the intestines, but the hole is right up here, like in like the collarbone area. So she's shoving instead of the usual like where your stomach is, she's putting all that stuff in like by where her collarbone is. So I just thought that was kind of creative.
Filling it from the bottom to the top.
Well, you put the gore or whatever in, and then you take it out when you want to resume your original form.
Right.
So when she wants to become Maleka again, she whips the hole open again, seemingly painlessly, and pulls all the stuff out and becomes Maleka again. But does anybody want to talk about the Noomi Rapace experience?
It was nice seeing her because she's still mute the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
It was nice seeing her finally be able to learn what it's like to be part of a community. Because the only thing, 16 years, remember, she's in Numi's body, and I think Numi's in her mid-40s. But you got to remember, this is a 16-year-old child.
Who's been around maybe 6 months, interacting maybe a month.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks.
And before Maria showed up, her only interaction was with her mother. And for a fact, her mother wasn't with her all the time.
Right.
So I really enjoyed, like, she was still trying to put two and two together and realize, like, this is how society works. She had to learn how to do this, learn how to do that. She was amazed by, the people, the interaction stuff. So I really enjoyed that. You know what I mean? Because it was cool to see her have a life.
Right. And when she was trying to do the basic things like sweeping, women would come over to her and basically yell at her. You did. But it was, and this is where I thought the education part, and when I mentioned it in the beginning, because the narration was even adding to that when she was saying, when I'm with the women, I open my mouth to laugh. When I'm with the men, I open my mouth to cry. And she's learning what is the two different, opposing sexes, at least in that village type deal, which she never. The only other male she met before that was the guy who was getting ready to rape her in the woods.
Yeah,
that
Maria dispatches real quick,
and then looks at her and said, "You're going to split yourself like a piece of wood," which I thought was a great line.
Yeah. When Maria confronted that dude in the woods, I just loved it. She didn't give two shits. She was not intimidated one bit. I loved it.
Yeah.
I get my hair all done for you.
Exactly.
You're just going to ignore me? What the fuck?
Yeah.
But it was. But I liked it because that was when you could tell she was. Okay, this is this. This is this.
This is society.
And started putting it together.
But her first interaction at that level is also mixed with some issues because all the men beat their wives.
Yes.
And, the women can't do anything about it. They're just kind of subjugated. In this little community, this isn't a town. It's a very small village of maybe a dozen people or something like that, a community of huts or whatever. And beating your wife is just it's like breakfast. It's time to smack. It's time to bruise. It's time to do whatever I want to do. She has this kindly because Noomi Rapace is married to an abusive husband, a very abusive husband, and her mother-in-law tells her, he got it from his father. His father beats, maybe the father, the father or father-in-law is too old to beat his wife now, but it's this generational kind of thing,
right?
Where all of the women just get walloped.
It's sadly just a part of life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that is, I think also part of the folktale and part of the, and that's what differentiates it from so many. Other movies is that, as we've said before, people aren't fighting to change their lot. They're just, this is what it is. This is what it is. There's no consideration. How can we make things better? How can things improve? We just have to endure.
Yep.
This kind of thing. She learns, what it's like to be around other women. The mouth should always be open then. The eyes should always be, full and bright. And, the men, no speaking.
Right.
The men want the water from the eyes. That's the only thing that they want.
Yep.
Right.
That kind of thing. And she's perfectly willing to endure this until he climbs on top. Her husband climbs on top of her one night, and she's so shocked.
She's terrified.
And yeah, she doesn't understand what's happening, and she kills her fucking husband.
Well, that's because if you think about it again, it's in this village, the men do what they want when they want. You know what I mean? There's no romance. If the man wants to get laid, he's going to get laid one way or another. You know what I mean? Because if you remember, she's just laying there and you just see her being dragged. You know what I mean? Yeah,
she gets dragged in the dirt of their hut. And that reminded me, and it's not funny, but it reminded me of that line from Mrs. Doubtfire, where Robin Williams is telling Sally Field that her husband's interpretation of foreplay was brace yourself.
Brace yourself.
Brace yourself, yeah. So that's kind of what it was, played out. It's not as funny when you have to, see it.
One more thing I'll say this. I'm not trying to make light of that situation, but I'm glad because it's rape. I'm glad it wasn't gratuitous. You know what I mean?
I agree.
This wasn't like Last House on the Left bullshit. You know what I mean? Just gratuitous for the sake of being gratuitous.
Yeah.
That scene was put in the movie to make a point, to show that this is how it was. It had, again, I'm not justifying, but it was in there for a specific reason. It made its point. You know what I mean?
You understood it. It had its impact, and then it ended.
Right. Exactly.
You didn't need to draw it out.
Right.
There was no need to draw it out.
Right.
And this movie is just under 2 hours, about an hour and 50 minutes, something along those lines. So, she kills her husband and pulls Numi's innards out of her. And I did feel sorry for the mother-in-law. And I usually don't get into, the chronological things, and maybe we'll, start to shake it up a little bit. I stopped, running shows that way, but there's just so many things in this film.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's so many things in this film. Fuck. And then it starts to become a little playful. Where she becomes the dog.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was fucking great.
Yeah, I like how that. Now here's one. It was a little bit hard for me to pay attention because I had to make sure my daughter wasn't around, for this movie.
Yeah.
But now, does she have to kill the animal to take the form?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And you can see at the beginning of the film, you see the cat come in, and Maria's killed that cat and become the cat to creep into the village.
Right.
Okay.
And
that's right.
No one can see her because if she walks in like she is, it's going to set off a fucking nuclear
because that's
bomb.
how she got in the cave to begin with. Because that gigantic bird flew in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and the expressiveness again of the animals in this,
right?
Especially when we get to the pig. It's just like fuck, man. And like the sheep last week and lamb. And so she becomes a dog, and she's just watching. She's just people watching.
Yeah.
She's just people watching, just hanging out and sitting in the sun and, having a good old time. And, she's watching boys flirt around with girls, this, that, or the other. And then she becomes the man.
Right.
Yes.
Which I just thought was funny because the guy's just standing. Hey, wait a minute. There's a naked girl down there at the bottom of that hill. Let me go and see what's happening here. What are you doing down here? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just got done frolicking with all my naked male friends. I find a chick. Okay, it's time to get the business.
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah. So, she becomes this guy.
Which I did not see. I figured she'd be shapeshifting or body possession, however you want to say it, throughout the movie. I didn't expect her to become a man.
Well, I just the way that was handled, because the Numi Rapace story is very sad and very tragic,
right?
And it's cruel, and she's being raped, and she's being beaten. And there's that one story, where the woman gets shoved out of the house and she's crying, and her husband's like, "And next time,
yeah."
And then she just shows her. Numi Rapace comes over and shows her the bruises.
Yeah, we see bruises on the neck.
I get it. Like she can't speak, but she's showing her, we're together on this.
Right.
I'm with you on this.
Which to me is why I thought she wanted to pick the guy the next time around. Even though it was the opportunity was there, but why not? If the guys are, let's see what it's
what it's like to be a man. Yeah, and life was easier. Even that simple thing like being able to take off your shirt when it's hot. She's like, finally, I can do this now. And they're all working because that one guy passes out in the heat. And then they're because they're farmers threshing wheat or grain or something like that. But I mean, that was a good story.
It was a nice palate cleanser from all the dark stuff we were going through at the time.
And the thing about it was she was even learning from that. Like one of my favorite scenes when she was the man was when the one father called his son, "You're one of the laziest things in the world. You only chop 2 pieces of wood and you got to get this all done." And the first thing she does as the man is help him.
Help the boy.
Show him. Like she was teaching him like a parent would do, because the boy didn't look like he knew what the hell he was doing. Like nobody showed him this is what you do, and got him up and I love that.
I'm sure that father smacked his son because his father smacked him, and his father's father smacked him, and said, "Get your shit together, you lazy bastard." And that's just the way things were done. But yeah, I mean, it was funny because at the same time, he's a man, but he's also a girl on the inside. So he grabs the dolls from the little girls, and like they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he gets like real protective of the dolls. He's like, "You're not taking these from me." It was funny, and the women kind of figure it out, and try to conduct like this, sort of old lady exorcism.
Yeah,
they're like beating them with, like a little, feather duster brush or something like that. Get out of here, But they figure. I love how they figured out that what happened to him was he got attacked by a witch.
Yeah, but what I like about it, it was like a very, very low key exorcism. You know what I mean? They're just walking around in a circle, kind of like brushing up with a broom, saying "Get out, unclean spirit," that type of bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. They're not flogging him or burning him or doing all this kind of stuff, because this experience with this community is in contrast to the first one.
Right.
So there's kindness here.
Right.
There's kindness here. When he comes up the hill or she comes up the hill in his body, all his friends are like, "Dumbass, where's your clothes? Put some clothes on." You still got to be fucking in the middle of the day. Come on. We got work to do. This kind of shit. Exactly. There's understanding there. And there's humor. And all different types of things. So I mean, all of these things are things that she's absorbing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even when he has sex in the one.
Right.
Yeah.
The look that was on the face and telling her the story because you knew it was Malika.
Yeah, he's giving her the old face. Yeah.
She was like, it was so drastically different from the other one.
It can be pleasurable.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love that because all of a sudden she was like, wait, did you see what they do with the other village?
Yes. Yeah. 2 towns over, it's fucking different, But I mean, there's when she's the dog, she sees those boys just shamelessly having that community wank fest, in the middle of the, she's like, "Oh, that's what that is."
Right.
That's what that is. She's just people watching as the dog, but she's learning.
Yeah.
She's learning. And this is in such, a different contrast to what Maria's story is, which, we get to in a little bit. Unfortunately, that girl falls off
the cliff.
The rock. You guys take it for a second. I got to take a text here.
No problem.
Yeah.
I love the fact before we get to falling off the rock, and we talk about when Maria showed up and wanted to see him naked. Oh, why are you so shy? I for some reason, I just busted out laughing at that. I'm like,
see, that's the thing.
Witch.
That's the thing. We mentioned it when she kills the would-be rapist in the woods.
Yeah.
Maria is a vicious, evil bitch.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of charm to her. You know what I mean? In a sick, sadistic way. Like we mentioned, I did my hair, aren't you impressed type of thing. And then she exactly. She kills the fucker. So
but I did. I remember seeing that scene. I'm like, that's just really funny. And it
I'm sorry.
It goes to the other side of Maria.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy next door was asking me, "Is Tulsa King a good show?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fucking Stallone." You know, he's like, "What about Rabbit Hole with Kiefer Sutherland?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm in the middle of a stream. Leave me alone." You know? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, "Oh, it's all right."
Only Stallone will take Mike away from his live streams. You know.
Yeah, well, he's my oldest friend. So,
you know, you gotta.
And I still for the 11, so I got to take the text. But what was I saying? Where were we at?
We were at the little girl fell off the cliff.
So I mean, and that's just another example of how she differs from Maria, because she sacrifices herself and ceases to become, what is he, Crazy Mario or something. I think they end up calling him Crazy Mario or something like that. Mad Mario or Mad Martin, something. And she becomes the girl. And that takes up a long period that's almost the second half of the movie.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. She stays in that body for the entirety of that. She becomes a woman. She becomes like maybe an 8-year-old child, all the way to becoming a woman, a wife, a mother. She lives an entire life.
She has the life she was denied too.
I was going to say that. That's what I loved, because she got to have her childhood.
And
you know what I mean? That was taken away.
And she learned as like a child would and grew up, and that was amazing. That's really good storytelling.
Yeah.
She got to have her childhood. She got to have childhood friends, you know what I mean? And live the life that, regardless, of the intentions of her mom, was taken from her.
Right.
Hold on a second. We got Verb here. He said he's got us on the big screen. I guess he's streaming YouTube on his TV. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. Yeah, that's cool.
I'll say this.
I'll say this. I don't mind looking bigger.
Yeah. Verb, you mentioned in the chat you really liked Lamb. Last week's episode, we discussed it. So give a sub and go check out that one when we're done.
And put it on the big screen.
He subs. I hear.
Okay.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good in the comments, in the post-show comments. So we've been having a little dialogue back and forth for a while.
Very cool.
So I mean, she lives this entire life inside, friends, parents, community, and sure enough, it turns into love.
Yep.
For one of the village boys that she grows up with. That because she's already lived quite a bit before she becomes this young girl. I love that she was wise enough she almost sort of picks him from when they're very young.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see that she's looking at him,
right.
And he's the opposite of the other men in the village, and certainly the opposite of the other men that she was, with in the other village.
Right.
She picks, because she's smarter.
Right.
She's smarter. Yes, maybe she's a lot smarter than she leads on because she doesn't speak.
Right.
But she picks the guy who's not aggressive. She doesn't pick the hyper masculine guy. She picks the guy who stumbles. And maybe he's not the strongest worker. But there's a corresponding kindness with that.
Yeah.
That she can sort of bond with, and that makes him a good choice.
Yep.
I love it. No, I was afraid to say what I wanted to say because it may go to something that you already have coming up about Maria.
Go ahead.
Because I love the fact that when they're around the fire, it's the old woman telling stories and the kids are listening to it, and some of them, are scariness. And they said, what was it, Crazy Maria?
Old Maid Maria.
Old Maid Maria.
Old Maid Maria. And I loved it because you gave so much of a backstory to Maria without having to hear it through like running repetition conversation. Yeah. It was just told in that story. In that
she becomes a children's story.
That's what I was going to say, because this older lady who tells the story, beautifully shot in front of a fire. So you know what it is? It feels like a ghost story.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or an urban legend you would tell, to your children to scare them, like, at the campfire.
Watch out, you become like Old Maid Maria.
Yeah, exactly.
One of those things. Because she even says, you don't want to hear that. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, one of the things we haven't discussed is that throughout all these different variations or bodies that she's inhabited, Maria shows up each time.
Yeah.
Yes.
To kick her.
Yeah.
To kick her verbally.
Break
what
her
you're
down.
doing isn't going to work.
Yep.
They're going to find out.
Yep.
They're going to tear you to pieces. You think you're the first one who's ever tried this? You're not going to be, I'm not going to, she doesn't say this, but it's always the equivalent. I'm not going to allow you to be happy.
Exactly. Right. You're going to suffer like I did.
Yeah, exactly. Suffer as I do.
She said a weird line right before Malika went to the first village when she said, fine, you're on your own. Let's see how you learn.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I love that because it was so like, I'm done with you. I can't believe I wasted my time. And she went off on her own. And which is funny because this is why I kept saying it's a learning. I mean, besides a horrific story, it's educational. You just saw her grow as a character. Yeah. And it was great because it was just naturally developed. It wasn't like,
no, it wasn't coerced
to save the day.
Yeah, it wasn't coerced. It wasn't, there's no deceit, well, I mean, there is in the sense, and I love that Maria phrased it as you're wearing corpses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful fucking turn of phrase.
Yeah.
Wearing corpses, you think this is going to work, forget it. This isn't what we are. When, what Maria really means to say is this isn't what I am.
Right.
Exactly. That kind of thing. And then we get to the story of Maria, and it is maybe the vilest thing that I've ever seen. Truly. Here's a question, and I'll ask it. Is this cinema? I argue yes.
I was thinking that actually when I was watching it this afternoon. Because I sat there and they said, this is, and it was funny because I really wasn't sure until I got to this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, because that all of a sudden says, it didn't forgive everything in the beginning.
Right.
Not Maria, but I understood. And I'm like,
you understood why.
Excellent storytelling.
Yeah. She had the life crushed out of her.
You brought you right back and right up to date. Doesn't forgive Maria.
Right.
But now you understand. It's like the old Chris Rock joke he said back in the 90s when he was talking about O.J. Simpson. He goes around. He was talking
I understand.
About, I don't agree with him, but I understand. And now I'm like, that's exactly it. You understand where she's coming from.
Yeah.
You still don't like her.
Right. But she's still an awful person. Awful creature.
I would say, Mike, I would just say this is cinema.
Yeah.
It definitely ain't a creature double feature, Dr. Shock.
No, this isn't Dr. Shock.
Yeah, this isn't Dr. Shock type horror.
It baffles, this was submitted, like I said last week, this was submitted for an Academy Award by Australia for their best foreign feature. You never hear anybody talk about it.
I never heard of it.
Talk about it. Yeah.
Even if you look at the title,
you won't be alone.
It's weird because you're like, it's not like Let the Right One In or Let the
Witch.
You're hearing, you won't be alone. It's a witch's story, but it's not.
Right.
It's wow. So,
there's this recurring thing, where she constantly recognizes how awful the world can be.
Yeah.
It's a turn of phrase that happens several times in the movie, and it always ends with "and yet."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's despite it's burning, it's breaking, it just it crushes the the happiness out of you, the spirit, and yet
there's still some beauty in the world.
Yeah, there are these other things that happen that make it worthwhile.
Yeah,
that make it worthwhile.
Water tripping off the leaves and drinking it. And see, I mean, and yet there's still beauty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I really do. That's I think is not a hidden message, but an underlining theme. They don't beat it over your head,
right?
But if you pay attention, you see it.
Yeah, because like I said, there's so few lines in the film. When something does happen, I'm listening, like I'm almost leaning forward. What did he say? What did
exactly.
Because this is in Macedonian, so it's got subtitles.
Yeah.
But I mean, every line, I'm like, what? What is it? This, that, and the other. And so we get to the Maria story, and she has this line. I think it says, "My life is like a river; it flows and flows and stays in the same spot."
Yeah,
and it's this woman who, at the time when I guess this country was at war with the Turks would take all the men, and press them into service. So there are no men for her to marry. She's already. She's not 21 at this point. She's, a full woman, probably in her 30s. And I'm sure back then that's, hopeless. That's hopeless age,
Yeah, you'd have 3 or 4 kids by now.
Yeah, I mean, the nickname is Old Maid,
Old Maid Maria. Yeah, she's Old Maid Maria. She's probably about 35. Right. But she's already Old Maid Maria. And she desperately wants to get married. She wants to, go out on her own. She's, raising her, she's tending her sick father. There's like no joy in her life at all. And she has no friends, nothing. And then, do you guys one of you want to? She goes out to that barn one day.
That's it. Has sex with a guy who's about to die. Is the best way to describe it.
No. Well, I mean, before that, she goes out to that barn and sees a witch.
Yeah.
Fucking killing that cow and drinking its blood.
Yeah.
And she implores, and again, I love how just matter of fact this is. It's, there's a fucking witch in my barn. Killed my fucking cow. Nothing I can do about it,
No.
And the cow, the witch literally just walks out fully nude.
Yep.
Face covered in blood in broad fucking daylight.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's Tuesday,
at a casual fucking pace,
It's Witchy Wednesday. Thanks for the cow.
Yeah.
And she begs this woman to give her a husband.
Right.
And understanding now Maria's mentality, you can see that this lady was full of spite.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Well, again, it's the makeup, like I said about Maria, the makeup on this witch. You could see the anger in this actor or actress. I don't fucking know. But their facial features, like, she was like looking at Maria in disgust. You know what I mean? Like, you interrupted dinner. You know what I mean? What the fuck are you doing? Type of thing. And then he's like, okay, I can make you suffer like I have.
Yeah. You are so beneath me. What are you doing?
Well, it's not even that. I think she's punishing her for her naivete.
Right.
Okay.
There's no room for being. What's that? I remember Jerry the King Lawler said at one time, "Stupidity should be painful." And he was, okay, really, you're going to ask for this? You're going to ask me for a favor? Okay, I'm going to do you a favor. Here it is. And it's kind of like a curse,
right?
And it, like almost immediately, someone comes knocking on the door. Hey, we have a son, and we heard you got a girl in here. You think they might want to get married because marriages are arranged back then. And the father's like, well, I guess I can go live with my sister.
Yeah.
I'm past the expiration date. You're getting past the expiration date.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do here. And it turns out to be this fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Of this dying tubercular guy where she has to travel a long distance away from her family, her father, no one to protect her. She basically gets held down by her in-laws
because at first they're guilt tripping her. You know what I mean? He's dying. They say something. He can't die a virgin. He can't die with no seed.
Don't send him to God a virgin.
Yeah,
an unman or a half man or something like that.
A half man because he's a virgin. He has no offspring.
Right.
And she still refuses, and that's when they force him on her.
Right.
Yeah. And, there's just that line. I've seen nothing of the good in life.
Right.
I've seen nothing of that. And she gets raped, and her solution to that is to somehow instinctively, I guess, because the community just understands how you complete this witch's spell. Then she goes out and kills this cow and starts drinking its blood, and she just passes out because she's sick.
Yeah.
And so, this will the blood restores the vitality and the strength. She has to. The witches literally have to drink blood, or she does.
Right.
And the community finds her passed out, covered in blood, and they fucking burn her at the stake.
Yeah.
And it's not even that they burn her at the stake; they lower
her into a fire.
Face first. They lower her. You're just like, what the fuck is going on here? Oh shit! And she doesn't die. She breaks free of the fucking
and walks out.
And just walks out, and they all just run.
Yeah.
Oh shit! You would too, man.
Yeah, but it was that. Well, it's Eric. You mentioned about Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And I'm going. She would wish that she got burned like Freddy Krueger, because compared to what happened to her, it just made her as ugly on the outside as it was on the inside, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you're right. It was amazing makeup.
Yeah.
What ends up, because her body, she's naked most of the time.
Yep.
She's naked, but it's like she's covered in 4th degree burns.
Yeah.
Like old 4th degree burns, like from head to toe. She's got a little bit of a wisp of hair that hasn't burned. Somehow she has eyelashes. I noticed that somehow. But her entire body from like head to toe is just one big 4th degree burn. And she just walks around like that, unless she's assuming she's wearing a corpse.
Right.
But what that serves also to Bilia, who's the young child, to understand why Maria is the way she is. It's not just for the audience's sake. It's so that Bilia sits down and hears this story. And she, it means more to her than to anyone else, because she's like, I'm not really a little kid. I am a fucking witch, and this person is my, my maker, so to speak.
I thought it was like ironic that the story the older woman was telling by the fire was a cautionary tale. And to Malika, hearing it, it's a cautionary tale, because she is a witch. It's more, it hits her harder. I could be this easily if I don't watch myself.
Not good. So I mean, what ends up happening? She ends up living the entirety of this life in that child's body.
Yep.
And what does she do? She ends up, marrying, a good man.
You know what I like, which I didn't expect. I'm glad that even though she was, wearing a corpse, I liked how she was allowed to age. She wasn't stuck the little girl for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
She gets married. And I loved during the marriage, during the ceremony, the old people are like, busting their chops. Come on, boy, spin that thing, a little higher. We got to do it. How many times? He didn't do it enough. He's got to do it again.
You're having fun.
They're having fun with them, because, they've known them their whole lives, this sort of thing. But there's that one scene where they're dancing and they're doing the circle dance, everybody's holding hands and they're dancing and spinning in a circle. And there's this shot of Maria.
Yep.
Watching, and she's like this dead thing surrounded by all this green.
Yeah.
In the middle of this green forest, there's this shot of Maria, and she's just watching, and she's not happy.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
She's not happy.
Well, it's always the wolves at the door on anytime this, because the village wasn't rich. I mean, but they were happy.
Yes.
They enjoyed each other. It was community.
Yeah.
And there's the outsider.
Yeah.
And I love that. And again, great cinematography on that, because you saw everything and all of a sudden, boop.
Yeah.
And I loved that. That was such good storytelling from the camera angle point of view.
And so, what ends up happening? Maria fucking murders her husband.
Yeah.
After she gets pregnant.
Right.
Yeah, she gets pregnant and comes to visit her. No, you don't get to have that.
You don't get to have that.
It has to be the way that I say it is. And
if it happened
that was such a heartbreaking scene. The way Malika finds her husband, and then just the way that boar just kind of walks away. I did what I had to do.
It's I don't know if it was some sort of CGI, but it's like they had Maria's eyes CGI'd onto the boar, onto the pig. You know, because it was like Maria's just looking at you, like, I told you so.
Yeah.
You know, it's a terrible world.
I was taking it because, once you find out that it is Maria in the pig form, you think of it, that pig's kind of strutting away. You know what I mean? Like it did what it had to do, and it's proud of what it had to do or what it did.
Yeah, it's malevolent.
Yeah,
it's malevolent. It's malevolent.
Exactly. I was even wondering if it was Maria at one point in time.
It was Maria.
Yeah, it was Maria.
No, in the beginning I thought like, no, she just got killed by a boar. I'm like, oh, it's probably Maria.
That was Maria.
Yeah,
that was Maria.
Yeah, so I was like, damn.
Yeah. You don't get to have that. You don't get to have.
And I'll make sure.
Yeah, I'll make sure, and then I will tell you. See, I told you so.
Right.
Yeah. It's like that. Somebody take it from there.
And go ahead, Eric.
Well, again, she shows up, and she's after. Malika is now single mom, but Maria's not done.
Yeah, Maria's
not done ruining Malika's life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anyone watching or listening, if you haven't seen this, I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Cover your ears.
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Maria slices the throat of the baby.
Yeah.
And that is, again,
nails.
The most cruel thing. The most cruel thing in the world is killing a child. And this isn't just killing a child. This is killing an infant.
Yeah.
Right.
And this was planned.
Yeah.
Because that's why I think Maria waited until Malika was pregnant.
Right.
This was all part of a plan. And I loved how the gears started clicking, and Malika, she knew what she had to do.
Right.
And she did her little whatever she had to do.
Ritual.
Ritual, thank you. And she was able to save the baby with the baggage of now the baby is a witch because it's alive. You still see the cut on the throat, and you see the little tiny black fingernails.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking, Jesus Christ, I get it, but I'm like, well, maybe if Malika raises that child right,
maybe
it won't end unhappy.
I thought she'll have somebody to raise it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that Maria says. You think this thing is so, so cute and so good. She's like, what's so good about it? And just rip it.
Yeah. Without warning.
Yeah. And so, Malika finally has had enough.
Yeah.
And just pulls, Maria's fucking insides out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it ends.
But what I liked is we still got a close up of Maria's face, and tears were forming.
Yeah, she asks her. She goes, "How were you able to do it so easily?" And that's what it's always been about,
right?
Jealousy and envy, and spite. How did you do this? And
exactly
what happened to Maria was not fair.
No, it wasn't.
Correct.
It
not at all.
Terrible. I mean, as unfair a thing as I've ever heard of in a story.
Right.
But it isn't everything.
And it didn't make it fair. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, unfortunately for Maria's story, it is everything. That's the entirety of her life.
Right.
And it never occurred to her that for other people, it might be otherwise. Because when you walk around with 4th-degree burns, bare-ass naked, people are probably going to have a negative reaction to you at first sight. Not to mention the fact you're trying to slash their babies.
Right.
People don't like that. It's not popular. It's not a winner.
Exactly.
So that kind of thing.
Well, like Maria had the rough life, and was willing to give it to everybody else without any qualm. I thought it was funny because we always talk about jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
The jump scares in this movie came naturally. Like when she cut the throat real quick, or you just heard the babies, and it wasn't like, booga booga type deal, but you just saw it and you were like, oh shit,
Yeah, it was more like, instead, I don't know if jump scare is the proper term, but it was more like shock. More like shock.
Yeah, shock.
You know what I mean?
And it came from a natural place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what makes the last words in the movie, and yet, because Maria had a rough life, and so did Malika, and Maria made sure she had it, and yet she kept rising above. I would say, picking herself off the mat.
Yeah, she overcomes.
Yeah,
she rises above it.
And yet, yes, life is cool, and yet here's a nice person, and life is this, and yet, and I love that. It wasn't, and it was funny because old maid Maria was a cautionary tale, and this was more of a survivor story. This is what it is. I mean, I think the baby, because I don't remember the baby's name.
No, neither do I.
Is going to be at least raised by a mother that cares.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, she's a witch. But it's the same thing like when you see like in a vampire movie, all of a sudden, I have a son. Well, I'll raise him, and type deal. It's it's
very powerful stuff.
Hope,
mm-hmm.
So to speak.
There are no witchcraft movies like this.
Not that I've seen.
No.
Because I think, again, it has that European flavor. Where they're doing it differently. It's not on the nose like The Craft, or even Eggers, The Witch, which is fantastic movie. Don't misunderstand me, but it's not like this. Eggers lent a lot more towards the horror.
I gotta take a phone call. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go. Eggers leaned a lot more into overt horror than Stolevski did here.
But there's so much more to it as well.
Yeah, there's more to the story than just horror. There's discovery, and there's love, and there's cruelty, and there's just life.
Yeah, I mean, I was noticing it when I was watching it. I was going with Malika's when she was being beaten down. I felt horrible, and then when you see her rise up, I didn't want to say I was rooting for her, but it was more of like, oh, come on, you learn this, get this, Yeah,
because I think that she saw the value in the lives she was assuming. They meant something.
Right.
Whereas Maria, it's just, it's a means to an end.
Right.
I need this body for that. And it's just, it's a sack of meat, and, there'll be another one after this,
And Malika had a rough life as well. I mean, as Maria's, and yet
at Maria's hands.
Yeah. And even when she was being beaten by the husband and being, there was, and even her mother locking her up in the cave, but she rose, she, and I'm not saying lifted off the mat again. I said that too many times, but she rose above it.
Yeah.
To still see the beauty in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a story. I am glad to be able to bring this into the channel. Hopefully, someone will see it on the replay, or Verb will watch it or something like that.
Right.
And these are the types of movies that are not going to be blockbusters.
No.
But they are the reason why I do this channel in the first place.
Right.
The reason why.
And it's an overused phrase, so please forgive me. But these are gems. This and The Lamb last week. Yeah. I would have never heard of these movies unless I was with this group, so to speak. So where did you hear this from, Mike? Where did
well, I'm a Numi fan. So I may have just inadvertently seen the trailer
Okay.
That she's doing this folk supernatural witchcraft movie. And I'm like, oh, fuck, Noomi Rapace in a witchcraft movie? Okay, let's see that. And then I saw the trailer, and I was like, that looks fucking amazing. And then I just kept waiting for it to drop. And out here, it didn't drop locally. And so I kept waiting for physical release and DVD and Blu-ray. And no, I'd have to search for it on Twitter to find people that were talking about it. Everybody had good things to say. And then, I finally, Amazon wouldn't drop it. And I found a copy on Blu-ray. I also like the 3:2 aspect, the ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got kind of that IMAX kind of thing going.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I remember it arrived and I might have watched it the first day that it got here. Like I pulled it out of the bag and, put it in there and just went, like, fuck. Because there's always the possibility that, what you're watching is going to be a letdown.
Right.
And this was this is only maybe the third time I've seen it, because like all of the movies that, I value the most, I don't want to watch them very often at all.
Right.
So, yeah.
But that's what keeps it thrilling.
Yeah. I don't want it to be familiar.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be familiar.
I don't want to. I mean, the only line, no joke intended, I would ever quote from this movie is "and yet," only because it was said a lot. Or
what isn't strange when you think about it? What isn't strange when you think about it?
Exactly.
All right.
Go ahead. Movie, but no, just good movie and more than I was expecting.
Yeah. Because the trailer doesn't show you much. The trailer doesn't show you much, so
no.
You have to see it and find out. All right, Eric will be back in a moment, but I think we are at the part in the stream, and I hope he gets back here soon, where we rate the movie. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather unclog a toilet with my hand than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is this is cinema. This is the destination. This is why I watch movies in the first place. What would you give Goran Stolevski's You Won't Be Alone?
Well, you were talking about it before. You said, is this cinema? And I turned around and went, after talking about it, I went, yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I would be very honest with myself because I wasn't sure when I first saw it. And I'm still thinking about it and want to go back to it eventually and watch it again. But I'll give it a 5. Only because it got me, it gave me something I wasn't expecting, and I was not disappointed in it. It was a horrific movie, a horror movie, but it was also so much more. And it's still making me think. I mean, even as I'm trying to stop myself from talking about it now, and which is weird because I'm not used to stopping to talk about a movie that I like, and it's just pouring out of me. So yeah, I give it a 5.
Okay, all right. I think I will, indeed, go with a 5 here. I can't find anything to. I can't find any fault. Like I remember the first time I watched this, and the initial scenes of Maria being in the and Maleka hovering over Maleka's crib.
Oh, okay.
The first 5 minutes, and I was just like, "What the fuck is this?" It just the way that it was done in such an understated but effective way.
Right.
With there's no horror score here in terms of the music. There's nothing driving tension or anything like that. It's all done with acting, and the acting is so low key. Again, another example. Not doing much, but making it look interesting. Great cinematography. an original story. I've never heard of another story. I've never heard of a story.
I agree. This. When I was watching this, I was going. The writer in me is going, would I have ever thought of writing something like this? And in my head, I'm going, no, I don't think so.
No,
only because the way it was just presented. I was just thinking about it before when Eric was still on the line. Oh, that's right. He has us on mute. Sorry. That this could be a play. This could break down into 3 acts easily and be staged. And in my head, I'm going, boy, this would be such a good twist type deal. Because, especially for theaters, they're always looking for something around this time of year, and rarely do people do stuff about witches. And like I've written
set it up for next year.
Yeah. It'd be interesting, type deal. To see it staged. Because you don't need much. You can just do it all out, Don't even need a big set. They can just wheel in furniture if they need it for what have you. But it would be so much fun to watch, because it was to do it here.
Well, we've got some other, witchcraft stories coming up. But
Eric is
hey, you're back.
I'm here.
All right, so we got to the point where we rated the movie. John gave it a 5. I gave it a 5. I'll run through the comparison for you, just on so we go.
I get a kick out of it.
This is the part where Eric reviews the movie because we already did it, and we have a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather unclog a toilet with my hand than watch this movie again. All the way to 5, which is this is the destination. This is why we do all this in the first place. What would you give Goran Stolevski's The Witch? You Won't Be Alone. Excuse me.
Okay, I'm gonna give a shout out to our girl Julia. You know what I mean? I remember there was a conversation with you. You were getting kind of disappointed with horror lately. You know what I mean? When this conversation happened, and she introduced you to foreign horror.
Julie.
Julia, yeah. She introduced you to foreign horror, and these last 2 weeks have been phenomenal. Sure, there's no perfect movie. I could knock it for the CGI when we see Maria on fire. I'm giving it a 5. I'm giving it a 5 for the storytelling, the tragedy in both characters. It's a beautiful film with all this ugliness. You know what I mean? But like John has said, it's a cautionary tale. It's a tale of learning. There's more to it than just a witch trying to destroy a person's life. If I honestly wanted to take half a point away for 3 or 4 seconds of shitty CGI, that would be completely unfair to this film. So 5.
Okay. So this is 2 weeks in a row with 3 5s.
Yeah.
I think Julia wanted to be here, but she couldn't because she's expressed a great interest in this entire. Well, not Daffy Duck, but she's expressed a great interest in the entirety of the movies that we have selected. Because I gave her the list, she's like, "Fuck yeah, I want to be there." She will be here. It looks like for Rosemary's Baby and Suspiria.
Very nice.
And I'm looking forward to those, and I'm looking forward to having her back because I love Julia to death.
I do too.
She brings a different perspective to things that I appreciate.
I just love how she is blunt to the point and gives no fucks.
She's very salty. Yeah, she's very salty.
There's no fucks to give.
Yeah.
I love her.
62, go fuck yourself. So, yeah, I mean, the purpose of this show is to bring films like this to people's attention. And I was just saying before, while you were off camera, that this isn't something that's going to ever be a blockbuster. It's not. It's not. And so it's going to appeal to a smaller demographic, a smaller audience. But some things are better when you keep them small. So I think this fits into that category nicely. And those that know. And if you don't, well, maybe one day you will.
Yeah, tell one person. That's all it takes.
Yeah, that's all it takes. So I've got you. I've got Sydney from Cinema Cities. We've discussed this a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And you go out and spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
Let one person know. Hey, on Peacock, you're looking for something a little different for Halloween? Maybe not on the 31st.
Right.
It's not that kind of movie. And that's why I didn't do it late in the season.
Right.
That's why I didn't do, but you want to start off your Halloween this weekend with something a little different?
Yeah.
I got something for you.
Mm-hmm.
See it before the 15th.
Yeah, see it before the 15th, before it gets really foggy.
Yeah.
Before the werewolves come out. Let's let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Eric, plug something.
You can find me, Hey Internet Eric here. That is my YouTube channel. Latest video I did, I finally finished the Rambo franchise. Thanks to Mike, it was his recommendation. My video for Rambo Last Blood, I put up a couple days ago.
I got my Rambo knife.
Oh, I'll just say this. Holy fuck. Spoilers, I love the movie. But the reasons why, it's just like, this is such a good film. I only seen it twice, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna put this right under First Blood. You know what I mean? 1 and 2.
Last Blood?
I enjoyed it that much. But for October, I mentioned before, I'm doing horror movies I've never seen. I'm gonna do The Ninth Gate. I'm gonna discuss The Witch, Wreck, and I'm going to start it off. I think Mike will be very proud. I'm finally getting into Hammer horror. I just got it from Amazon. I'm going to either watch it tonight or Thursday, but by Thursday or Friday, I will be discussing Horror of Dracula.
Boy.
I knew you'd be proud of that, Mike.
Yeah,
so
buddy.
The first thing I'm going to dive into is Horror of Dracula. I've never seen any Hammer other than Curse of the Werewolf and Phantom of the Opera. So let's see just how good Christopher Lee is. I'm very excited.
Very nice. Very nice.
Hey, Internet, Mr. Lee.
Yeah.
No, that's what it is. Hey, Internet, Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Just got it in the mail today.
John, have you got anything to
I have nothing to plug, my friend, this time around. I am actually clean slate. I was actually looking forward to coming here and doing this show and saying, Eric, I never got to see Last Blood.
Oh,
do it.
But I got to hear some of your Rambo podcasts, and I'm going, I really got to find Last Blood now because
it's good.
I've seen all the others.
It's good.
Well, I appreciate you listening to it, but trust me, if you like the Rambo character at all, and again, he's a tortured character. If you like that from First Blood on to where he blows up all of Burma in Part 4, this is, I think, I don't want to spoil it too much. This is the most human we've seen him since First Blood. Right. So,
and that's and it's no joke intended. That was the quality that I liked about John Rambo. Was the human factor.
Yeah, not the superhuman, but the human.
Yeah, there's some over the top stuff, because it is a Rambo movie, but this is the most human he's been since 1982.
I love when he pulls the knife out on that girl.
Yes, and then see, and I'll say this. He just
shuts that whole conversation down like right there.
This isn't a spoiler, John. Basically, what it is his niece, because he's on his father's ranch, and he's with this woman and her granddaughter, adopted niece, whatever, Uncle John. Her dad was abusive to mom and ditched her as a kid. Took it hauled ass to Mexico. Her friend finds out where dad is. She goes to Mexico. He basically says, I never wanted you, the usual stuff. And then she gets sold out and drugged. And then now she's in forced prostitution and trafficking. And what I mean by this is the Rambo we've never seen before. Now, because it's always a rescue mission other than First Blood. He's rescuing a family member. There are no limits to what John Rambo will do, and I'll leave it at that. One of the interrogation scene, I'll leave it at that, because that's going to be one of those oh shit moments for you.
Okay,
but it's a Rambo we've never seen, because now he's not rescuing POWs, he's not rescuing his colonel, he's rescuing his niece, a family member.
18-year-old high school senior kid.
Yes.
Good.
Get on that, dude. I think you would really like it. You'll really like it.
Good.
You know, when you brought up Hammer, you mentioned Oliver Reed, and it reminded me. Did I ever tell you guys the story, or have you ever heard the story of when Ozzy Osbourne met Oliver Reed?
No. No.
Okay, well, you know, no good can come of this just from
Of
those
course,
names alone.
I figured.
But Ozzy is telling this story because, unfortunately, Oliver Reed is no longer with us, and I love Oliver Reed. I loved seeing him in Gladiator. I think Gladiator is a greatly overhyped movie.
Yeah,
it's far from Ridley Scott's best, although people swear it's like the greatest thing of all time.
right.
But I love seeing Oliver Reed, and it was like his last role.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
But Ozzy is telling the story where, of course, Ozzy's in a bar, and in walks Oliver Reed, and this was maybe around the time 1970, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very much the hippie phase of things. And he said he didn't understand how big Oliver Reed was. He said he was big. He said he was massive, like a bear.
Okay.
Such a big, massive man. He didn't understand that from seeing him on the TV, and this, that, and the other. And so I guess Oliver like zeroed in on him.
Now Oliver is from Curse of the Werewolf, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he walks right over to him and kind of zeroes in on him, and they starts talking, and Ozzy's kind of nervous because he's a huge fucking guy. And he goes, see, you have some tattoos. And Ozzy's like, oh, fuck, here we go. Because it's 1970.
Yeah.
To have tattoos and to not be like Popeye the Sailor Man, you could be getting your ass kicked.
Right.
And he's like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I have a tattoo also. Would you like to see it? And Ozzy's like, yeah, I guess.
Uh-oh.
And he fucking pulls his pants down and whips out his dick. And he's got a fucking tattoo on his dick. And Ozzy's like, what the fuck? He's like, I didn't see it for like more than a second, but he's like, what the fuck? So like somebody even outdid Ozzy.
Yeah.
And it was if it was going to be anybody, it was Oliver Reed. So
now remember, if you want to see a movie with Oliver Reed and Christopher Lee, go check out The Three Musketeers and The Four Musketeers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The ones with Michael York as D'Artagnan.
Yeah.
Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch. Yeah. It's amazing, and it's fantastic cinematography. Both movies were actually shot at the same time, and they split it in the middle and added some scenes to the second one because it would have been like a 5-hour movie when it came out. But it was a fantastic film. Yeah, and Christopher Lee is the captain of the guard.
Rochford. Yeah,
he's a captain, and Charlton Heston.
Oh, Charlton Heston is Rochford.
Is Richelieu.
Yeah, Richelieu. Yeah. Charlton
Richelieu. Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Oliver Reed is hysterical as Aramis. No, Aramis was one guy. Athos and Aramis. He was Aramis, and it was hysterical because when he's not fighting, he's drinking.
Yeah.
and it's his wonderful movie.
I've had a desire to watch The Man in the Iron Mask lately, and
I've never seen it.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a great movie.
You talking about the one with DiCaprio and Malkovich?
DiCaprio, Malkovich, Jeremy Irons, Gabriel Byrne. Yeah. Who else?
And Gerard Depardieu.
Gerard Depardieu is Porthos. Yeah. He's great.
Speaking of Malkovich, one more thing I just added to my I've never seen list for October: Shadow of the Vampire.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
hell! If you need a guest shot, I'll be more than happy.
I'm excited on that one because you guys have praised it many times on this show.
Worthy of praise. It's fucking worthy of praise.
Him and William Dafoe. I could listen to the two of them like read phone books.
Yeah, you put them together.
They were so good together in this movie.
Yeah. There was something else I was going to say, but now it just
you didn't get to plug anything, did you?
No. Well, but no. That wasn't it. Okay. Well, for this channel, I just finished watching Gareth Edwards. I went to the cinema yesterday, and I saw Gareth Edwards this afternoon. I caught the 1240 feature of Gareth Edwards, the creator. And Gareth Edwards is the director of Rogue One, if you don't know who that is. And it is maybe the greatest science fiction movie I've seen in the last 20 years.
Wow!
Very much the newest interpretation of the gone native trope.
Okay.
And just about this scorched earth war that's going on between the West and artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence already is kind of an overused trope. But the way that they do it here is just wow. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Fantastic.
That is based on a book, right?
I'm not sure. It almost seems like some sort of anime story, but it probably is. It probably is.
I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone mentioned it, and I wasn't sure if they were just kidding me or not. That's all.
It wouldn't surprise me. It would, because it is a complex story. Cool. And everybody in there, from their own perspective, and this is what makes it great, has a legitimate reason for doing what they're doing.
Gotcha.
And it takes place in Southeast Asia, so it has heavy Vietnam War parallels.
Okay.
Nice. It's just like, that's what makes Maria a great villain in this movie. She has a legitimate grievance with humanity.
Yeah. Right.
That's what, when the villain thinks that they're right.
Yes, that makes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, you cheesy comparison because we're going to Maria. That's why I always have loved the character comics or played by Ian McKellen, of Magneto in the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
He knows what it's like to be persecuted because you're different, family members, friends murdered because you're different, because he survived Auschwitz.
Yeah.
He now knows mutants are superior. What he's doing, he'll kill a motherfucker, without blinking twice, but he believes he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That makes a great villain.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to, maybe after this is over with, I may watch that first X-Men movie. That was a good movie. Okay, so
go ahead. No, I'm not going to quote about an X-Men comic. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. All right, so that review is up on this channel. I did a 60-second spoiler-free short on the channel, so go check that out. Tomorrow, I'm going to drop a review of Ahsoka, the entire season. And so that will drop tomorrow on the channel. And then tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'm going to take the Nestea plunge and go see The Exorcist Believer. I have tickets to the first feature here at my local cinema. I'm going to the Thursday show because I'm not press, and so I don't get advance tickets. But I'm going Thursday, 5 o'clock. I haven't heard good things, but I'm going to make up my own mind. And see it for myself and judge. And, I'm hoping for the best. I'm expecting something not so great. Sometimes reducing that expectation makes me enjoy a movie more. My understanding so far is that on its own, it's not a terrible movie. But when you hang The Exorcist on it, that drags it down.
Yes.
And unfortunately, with The Exorcist, the natural conclusion of the storyline ended in 1973.
Right. Yeah.
So almost everything that's happened after that has been largely unnecessary.
Right.
So I'm not sure why we're still doing this, but we are, and it's the 50th anniversary now.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, what's going to end up happening is they're going to lose money.
Yeah.
Universal has paid $400 million for the exclusive rights to the entire franchise, and I don't think this is... Horror fans, if anything, horror fans on general principle might carry it over the finish line.
Right.
At least this first film.
Yeah, at least the first film. They might carry it over. I don't know what the budget is. Probably $100 million, that sort of thing. It might happen, but 5 o'clock tomorrow, I'll be in the theaters. I asked Ryan if he wanted to go, and he's like, that's short. I can't, but I'll be there, popcorn in hand.
Good.
I'll be scarfing some popcorn. Looking forward.
The movie theater where I work at in Stone Harbor, I think that's coming there this weekend too.
We're getting it this weekend.
Yeah, and if I get a shot, I get to see it for free, so I don't have to worry about money. I just got to get over there.
Go ahead. Budget is $30 million.
So yeah, all right. That's going to make money. That's going to make money.
Just on curiosity alone, it'll be a profit.
Yeah. Horror fans will be there. Fans will be there.
Let's see what it does on the second weekend.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the name recognition might carry it over. It won't carry it over for people outside the community past the first weekend.
Right.
Horror fans might get it done.
Exactly.
So $30 million isn't much.
That's right.
What I've been really impressed by is The Nun 2. Quarter of $1 billion.
Yeah.
$250 million off what, 38 million budget?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, The Nun 2 was fucking.
Yeah, The Nun 2. We had people coming to Stone Harbor, which usually the clientele is older. You know, like we brought back Oppenheimer about 2 weeks ago. We brought it back, and people were coming in like from the matinee shows, and they were all the local Stone Harbor
residents. Yeah,
he was saying summer's over. You know, let's go in here and see what this movie was about.
Yeah. I can get a seat today. Yeah, no problem.
You know, well, it's the same thing with like a Haunting in Venice. A lot of them came.
Did you see it?
Week. I got to see about 3/4 of it because
was it any good?
It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I will be honest. I was concerned because it wasn't really based on an Agatha Christie book, but somebody who wrote with the same characters in it.
Okay.
Like they nail it, and it's like a ghost story. It's a mystery, but you still get that ghost story feel.
Okay.
All right. I'll probably end up texting it when it hits HBO or something.
And every person I know who's walked out when I asked them, I said, "Hey, what it was like?" Because I usually wind up giving a little dissertation to each movie. Not one person told me, "Thanks, man, I wasted my money." But a lot of people walked up and said, "This was better," and they were surprised because they loved the mystery, but they said, "This was scary. I wasn't expecting the scary part."
Okay.
You know, and I was very surprised at that too.
Hey, I expected nothing from the creator. I saw the trailer and I was like, I have no interest in this. I was fucking wrong. Holy shit, that was a great fucking movie.
Good.
Damn.
Good.
Damn.
And I love that when a movie does that to you.
Yeah. I don't want to be wrong all the time, but hey, it's a double-edged sword.
But I'm glad to tell everybody.
So that will be that for this week. Next week we will be back with episode 200. Now, episode 100 was The Exorcist. Was William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist. We're going in a different direction this time. We are going with, for Halloween, Daffy Duck's Quackbusters.
Scariest goddamn movie ever.
A great follow-up from tonight's movie.
If you put those Looney Tune characters up on a screen anywhere in the world short of Afghanistan, some cave in Afghanistan, people are going to know who Bugs Bunny is. Yep. They know who Daffy Duck is. They know these are beloved global figures, and they're that way for a reason. And this is the Looney Tunes version of a horror movie. And it's fun, and it's funny, and I look forward to covering it with people. And yeah, we're going to be there. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
And that's the plan for the show. So
absolutely.
Creator, this, Exorcist on Thursday, Ahsoka video tomorrow, next week, Daffy Duck's Quackbusters. And tonight, actually, I don't know if I'll be awake that late, but at midnight, the new episode of American Horror Story drops. Has anyone been watching it?
No.
I haven't been watching it only because after the first season, I don't know why, it just fell out of my radar.
This is like the 20th season.
I know, that's the point. Yeah. When I saw the very first one, I really liked it, but after that, it dropped off my radar.
Maybe I'm going to say something unfashionable. Fucking Kim Kardashian is fucking great in this.
Really?
Because I swear,
I've heard that from people.
You're talking about her acting, not just her look.
Yeah. Okay. No. They don't. They're not even glamorizing her. Like, like she's like facing front all the time. You can't like. I think they showed one scene and it's like a waist and then this ass that just comes out to here, like if she was sitting down. But not that I noticed that. But she's kind of playing herself. She's playing like a celebrity publicist.
Okay.
Dealing.
So
far, she's been better than Emma Roberts. She's like it's got a whole Rosemary's Baby kind of thing going.
Okay.
And she's like she's pushing. pushing. You can tell she's
Good.
kind of evil.
Okay.
So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I'm not doing episodic review. I'm going to do a season review when it ends.
Very nice.
So far, I'm really enjoying it. It's really
Kim
good.
Kardashian being evil.
Kim Kardashian.
Oh my God.
I know it's fashionable to hit on him, but
No, I'm not.
My position on it has evolved. I figured they don't bother anybody except for the guys that they marry.
That's your own dumbass fault.
Yeah,
I never complained about anybody. Look, if they're doing what they're doing and they're making money at it, God bless you.
Yeah,
it might not be my cup of tea. Yeah. I used to teach an acting class, and when I said that some people said I want to be as good as an actress as Kim Kardashian, and I turned around and said, "Well, I'll see if I can try to make it better." And a student, one student said, "Well, have you ever seen the show? You really can't criticize it unless you watch it."
True.
And I said, "All right, I'll watch a season of the Kardashians." Was it my cup of tea? No. But I can't sit there and say, well, I can see why people like this. Because I can see why I can see why people get into this and everything else. But and it was funny because I sat there and I said, why are they bringing all the other sisters in? Just should make it Kim. Do the narration. She seemed to be more comfortable in front of the camera than everybody else. But other than that, so that's why I said they want to do it, they can do it, knock themselves out.
Yep.
And Mike's looking at me like I just went off the rails.
No. I was actually trying to find the one clip of her in there, and I was going to show it on the.
It's accidentally that time where she's naked in the champagne? Oh, sorry.
No. I was going to show the scene from the show. Well, hold on, AHS. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Because there's like this one little clip that she does, and you're like, "Fuck, that's actually pretty fucking good."
Yeah.
Just be careful with the copyright. You're.
Well, it's on X.
Oh, okay.
It's on X.
And it's funny because if they're I wasn't kidding. She's been in front of the camera so much, she's got to be comfortable with it. It's not like she's tensing up at all.
Right. I'll show it to you guys another time. I don't keep you.
All right.
Sure.
Show it after the 200th episode on right then.
Yeah, I'm sure Ryan will really appreciate that.
Yeah, I go.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you. My thanks to Eric from Internet Eric here. My thanks to John K. Alvarez. And we will see you all in the next video. All right, until then, don't watch shitty movies.
Cheers.